I'll call you two at a time. If you would please come up to the alternating podiums. Bruce Tumen and Ron, I'm sorry, I always mispronounce your last name.
Don't worry, Lori's going to come up.
Okay, Lori's going to, okay.
First?
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Okay. Good evening. Good evening. Thank you. I appreciate this opportunity to talk to you tonight.
Name, please.
Oh, sorry, Lori Kaniak. Sorry. I, like many of the people here, are here to object to the early start date of the school year. I'd like to make a few points. First, we're out of sync with all the other South Florida counties, specifically Miami-Dade and Broward counties, who do have a later start date. We're also out of sync with all the private schools in the area. There are a lot of families who have their children in both private and public. I am one of them, for a variety of reasons, whether it's programs or religious reasons. Scheduling is very hard for these families when we are so on different pages with the schedule. Every other school district manages to complete the entire coursework and have exams before Christmas without a second week in August start date. The northern schools start after Labor Day and still manage to have exams before Christmas break. I'm hoping that we can work on a better schedule so that we can accomplish that goal as well. As a working parent who gets exactly 2 weeks of paid vacation time, I am in a very bad position because we now have 2 weeks off around Christmas, an entire week off for Thanksgiving, not to mention other days off for the teachers, for teacher work days, and for spring break. We now have to either, in my situation, maybe other working families, we now either have to pay for extra childcare during Thanksgiving break. We also have to put our kids in camps or other type of supervised activities. Or in my case, I could take the time off unpaid to stay home with my children and supervise them. I'm not alone in that situation. There's always an option to add schools to the end of this calendar. I have been here and I have seen the school end in the middle of June, or at least the first week in June. I have a few other points, but I would also just like to make one very final point. I know a lot of people have talked about camp as a problem with the schedule between the end of camp and the beginning of school. I am one of those families that send my children to sleepaway camp, but this for me is not a reason of why I'm here, other than to say this was not a luxury choice that I send my children to camp. I send my children to camp because I am working full-time and I can't be home with my children. I don't have time to take an extended vacation. I don't have the resources to pay for camp and after-school activities, after-camp activities. So for me, I send my children. I have a very big expense, but I prioritize it, and that's how I manage my time. However, this starting early, I'm now losing money, both on camp. My children are losing their summer experience, and I'm going to be hit with a double-edged sword at the end of the end of the calendar year with the money for extra childcare or extra supervision for my children. I have other points, but I would like to say thank you for your time.
Thank you. State your name for the record, please.
My name is Bruce Tumen. I'm a taxpayer to both this board and the Village of Wellington, and I urge you to vote against the interlocal agreement with the Village of Wellington for the Wellington Community High School Sport Complex. According to your information, the only theme for this project is short term and does not include, quote, effective and relevant instruction to meet the needs of the students. Quote, school, district, and village staff both agreed that there is a public need in the Wellington area for athletic facilities. Well, according to the village website, we have 24 neighborhood parks and 10 community parks and memorials within our 45 square miles. The village park athletic complex has 2 lighted hockey rinks, 2.5 miles of lighted asphalt trails with exercise stations, 3 lighted adult softball fields, 3 lighted multiple person fields, 4 lighted football fields, 9 lighted soccer fields, lighted baseball fields, practice fields, and a skate park. Our 2 gymnasiums and 4 multi-purpose classrooms. Our new tennis center is a 45 square feet facility featuring 21 self-irrigating clay courts In addition, the Wellington Aquatics Complex consists of a state-of-the-art Olympic-sized swimming pool with diving boards and a water park. This agreement is not for public needs. Oh, by the way, the Village Council already voted on this on July 9th, item 19-3004, and awarded contract to provide engineering and architectural services as well as for the construction of this project. So I guess your vote tonight, it doesn't really matter, does it? It's a done deal. Moreover, the swimming pool is part of this agreement, unless the council is voting out next year. How will the village pay for this project? Do you even care? The village will be using their share of the penny sales tax. However, the municipality's share was supposed to be used for their property improvement, not yours. Is this funding tainted? Possible lawsuits? If the village does subsidize this high school, then why not increase the staff and teachers' pay at the school too, according to matching to what the village is giving you guys? As I stated to this board on June 19th, if one of our 39 municipalities is unable to raise the funds for these amenities, are our students out of luck? If some schools have and some schools have not, isn't that a type of discrimination? I urge you all to vote no, or at least table this agreement until you hear from we the people, and not just the staffs. Thank you.
Paige Axel and Jen Stein.
Good evening. My name is Paige Axel, and my son is going into 5th grade at Calusa Elementary in Boca Raton. I'd like to thank you for providing our children with the top-notch public education, as well as this opportunity to address the proposed school calendars. I've been monitoring this situation closely since April, and I'm speaking on behalf of hundreds, even thousands of parents who also feel that August 10th is simply too early to go back to school. I stand behind Representative Polsky's suggested solutions, and I hope you will consider them. The proposed start dates for 2020 and 2021 are the earliest since 2005. A vast majority of the country is able to get there 180 days without starting and ending school so early, including Broward and Dade. After reviewing the calendars, it's clear that trying to end the second 9 weeks before a holiday break is a problem. The top performing school districts in the country end theirs in late January. Based on data from the U.S. Department of Education, number 1 is Jericho, New York, which starts on September 3rd, 2020. And number 2 is Solon County, Illinois, which starts on August 21st this year. Another study found that the top 5 states for public school education are Massachusetts, New Jersey, Connecticut, New Hampshire, and Vermont, all of which adhere to a traditional school calendar. If we bumped our calendar forward by just 2 weeks, this would ease the concern of high school principals and give students an opportunity to prepare for exams after break. It's also worth noting that high school only represents 4 out of 13 grades. As of February 2019, this translated to roughly 53,000 high school students. However, the proposed calendar change affects an additional 116,000 elementary and middle school students and their families. I understand there is a concern about bus drivers and other employees being without paychecks. According to the school district website, the district has 915 buses. If we assume there are 2 or 3 drivers per bus, we're talking about making a calendar change for 3,000 employees at most. This is wildly disproportionate response when you consider this decision affects 190,000 students and their parents, which totals at least 500,000 Palm Beach County residents. Even more, many bus drivers and other district employees, including teachers, take jobs for the summer out of necessity. Many of these teachers work at Northeastern summer camps, so an August 10th would eliminate this option for them. The easiest way to get extra days would be to eliminate the entire week off for Thanksgiving. Broward and Dade counties are not closed on Monday and Tuesday. These days are problematic for working parents because we either have to take time off of work or pay for childcare. The same goes for the Monday and Tuesday the week before Christmas. A variety of factors are contributing to the overall calendar problem, and your proposed fix of starting and ending school earlier poses new and additional problems. The simplest solution would be to move closer to the traditional school calendar that has worked around the country for decades, rather than farther away. We're not even asking to have school begin in September, but as little as 1 extra week would address all of the concerns you've heard from parents at prior meetings and those you are hearing tonight. I thank you very much for your consideration, and I sincerely hope we can come up with a school calendar that works for the district, its employees, and most importantly, the families and the students who attend.
Jen Stein and Stacy Goldstein.
Oh, sorry. Okay, just short. Palm Beach County School Board, thank you for all allowing me to address all of you today. My name is Jennifer Stein, and I'm a mother of 3. I'm a full-time volunteer supporting the schools my children attend. I have been an active member of the PTA for the past 10 years and was the PTA president at Waters Edge Elementary for 3 years. I'm proud to say that I maintain strong relationships with teachers and staff, as well as parents throughout the public school system. Quite a few teachers have reached out to me to express their concerns over the early start date. These individuals, quite frankly, are not comfortable speaking candidly about their concerns for the early start for fear of retribution. Many teachers supplement their income stream with work during the summer months. A large number have second jobs at summer programs in the Northeast. An early adjustment to the calendar will deny these teachers and faculty the opportunity to supplement their income in this manner. At the June board meeting, it was made clear a simple solution for 2020 school. Have school in session Monday through Wednesday before Thanksgiving off. These days are unnecessary to have off. What does a working family do with unintended children during this week? The same can be said about winter break. It is entirely too long. Most schools in our nation go back after New Year's or a few short days after. Our children are off 23 days from the start of Thanksgiving to the end of Christmas break. Ask your teachers and your administrators. They will tell you how difficult it is to get students back on track after being off for such a long period. Last, I would like to discuss the inevitable, the extreme high temperatures in South Florida in August. I am sure that all of us, school board members included, can agree that there is a fact that climate change is real. Just this week, we saw temperatures soar close to 100 degrees across most of the country. In Florida, there are the highest temperatures in July and August. With overcrowding in most of the area schools, some classrooms are now set up in portables. Teachers go from inside the school to outside to get to these portables. I've witnessed teachers literally gasping for air walking from their main building of our school to get to their portables. In August, they are lugging items to set up their classrooms. Some teachers physically cannot be outside. At the start of school, the same can be said of dozens of children that have to go from the portables to the inside of the school multiple times throughout the day. These children are literally sweating. They're miserable and unhappy. An adjustment to the school calendar will force students to return to school during the most extreme temperatures. Many of our buses lack proper air conditioning. Some schools have air running at subpar levels or systems that actually don't work. For instance, last year, Olympic Heights High School had air conditionings that were not working in some parts of the building in early August. I'm sure that we can come to some sort of compromise that can appeal to everyone. You are depriving some of your faculty members the ability to earn additional income over the summer and are subjecting our students and faculty to an oppressive environment with rising temperatures in the hottest part of the year. I'm asking you to listen to the parents of Palm Beach County.
Thank you. Jonathan Burns next. Go ahead, ma'am.
Good afternoon, members of the board. My name is Stacy Goldstein. I'm a working parent of 3 children in the Palm Beach County schools. I have 1 in elementary, 1 in middle, and 1 in high school. I recently reviewed the revised proposed calendars for 2020-2021 school years. I know I am representing hundreds, if not thousands, of parents, children, and educators who could not attend because they are on summer break. At the conclusion of the June 5th meeting, the board challenged the calendar committee to go back and consider the comments from that meeting. Ms. Brill called for creativity and asked the committee to think outside the box. Similarly, Ms. Andrews said to get out of the box and do it differently. Dr. Robinson requested more information about the Miami-Dade calendars and exams. Lastly, Ms. Quinn stated that she has always had an issue with the calendar. Yet, here we are with the same proposed calendar. This shows a lack of respect for the parents, students, and educators they serve, not to mention the veterans. The solution seems straightforward. Issue number 1 regarding why a later start date is necessary. We already start earlier than the Northeast, where a vast number of residents, including myself, have been moving from and supporting our economy. They are moving here and buying our real estate. They are coming from high-achieving schools and entering their children into Palm Beach County schools. These Northeastern folks have a choice which district to move to. Being more aligned with the Northeast, where their family and friends live, is more appealing. Pushing our start date even earlier alienates us from the rest of the country. An earlier start date also demonstrates a lack of faith in our educators and students. We should not be cramming dates in prior to winter break simply for testing purposes. Teach to teach, not to the test. Number two, regarding the pay of hourly workers, there often has to be shorter or longer gaps in pay due to the Earth's 364-day rotation during a 365-day calendar year. When faced with similar issues, the committee strongly advised hourly workers to budget accordingly. They do not receive less pay. We cannot adjust the calendar for this. An easy solution is at hand. Nearly all school districts in the United States conduct regular classes the Monday through Wednesday prior to Thanksgiving. These vacation days put immense pressure on working parents to try to find childcare. Additionally, December 21st and 22nd do not need to be vacation days. These also add to childcare issues. Those are 5 days that could give us back an entire week without even extending into June, which, by the way, should not be out of the question either. If we must test prior to winter break, why can't we just test on what they learned up until that point? Thank you for your time and consideration on this important matter.
Jonathan Burns and Betsy Pearl.
Good evening, Board, Chairman Barbieri, Superintendent Fenoy. My name is Jonathan Burns. I have 2 lovely daughters in your school system. I'm a Florida-born and a public school kid who used to start school after Labor Day. And you are a school board. I am assuming that every one of you ran for this seat to do what is in the best interest of the children and to give back to your communities. And I appreciate that, and I commend you for stepping up. But no good deed goes unpunished, and like any other good deed, your jobs are difficult. But you were elected to make the difficult decisions that were in the best interest of our children. And that's why you're here today, and that's what I'm asking you to do. All you have to do is make the difficult decision once, because everything else aligns after that. The difficult but best decision is to start 3 weeks before Labor Day, not even after Labor Day like the rest of us used to. 3 weeks before Labor Day. You make that change one time, and everything else fills in the gaps after that. That's it. The easy thing is just to go with the calendar that they're throwing in front of you, even though they did not follow any of the instructions that were given at the last meeting. I won't go through the various reasons why it's in the best interest to start earlier. Everybody else has done that. I won't bore you to death with the same reasons, but they are legitimate, and they are something that need to be considered, and especially with the dates in terms of Thanksgiving and Christmas, that is valid. Nobody is trying to have exams after winter break. I know Mr. Katz has great concerns with that, but that's not a recommendation that you're hearing today. I just encourage you to strongly consider the difficult decision, because that's what you were elected to do. Thank you.
Betsy Pearl and Scott Simon. State your name for the record, sir.
My name is Scott Simon. I am a parent of middle and high school students in Palm Beach County. I watched the online video of the calendar workshop on June 5th, and it definitely appeared at the time that the board was largely opposed to, or at least seriously concerned with, the very early school start dates of August 10th in 2020 and 21. So I was really surprised, to say the least, that the calendar committee is returning today without making any change to those start dates. As for the board's biggest concern, which was addressed at that meeting, the avoidance of a further pay gap for all employee groups, the school year could easily start 2 days later on August 12th, 2020, without a problem. However, as Mr. Burke explained at the June workshop, there is a math problem with a calendar year containing 365 days, but 52 weeks or 26 pay periods containing only 364 days. So while August 12th is the earliest start date to avoid a further pay gap for any employees in 2020, the following year it might be August 11th, then the next year August 10th, then August 9th, which we all know is prohibited by the legislature. So, I hate to say it, but a further pay gap for certain employees appears to be inevitable within the next 2 or 3 years. It's simple math, and it's unavoidable. And since that's the case, the board should consider whether it would be better off instituting the further pay gap now, when we can avoid the early August start dates in 2020 and 21, or in 2 or 3 years when we would have to institute the further pay gap anyway, but only after teachers and students already suffered through those early August start dates. Also, if you absolutely want to avoid any further pay gap in 2020, can't we, quote, start the school year on August 12th, but start it off with, quote, summer holidays on the 12th, 13th, and 14th? Or perhaps have the affected employees work one day earlier in August? I think, as the board said at the last meeting in June, we all need to be creative and think outside the box here to resolve this dilemma. Now, assuming we push back the start date from August 10th, how could we make up the extra school days? It's quite simple. First, we did not have Columbus Day off in 2017, 18, 19, and will not have it off in 21. So why do we have it off in 2020? Add it back in, and that's one day made up right there. Second, since many of us originally hail from the Northeast and still have family there, I looked at the school calendars for New York City, Long Island, Westchester, New Jersey, and you know what? Every single one of those school districts has just 2 days off for Thanksgiving, just Thursday and Friday. Some might have early dismissal on Wednesday, but not one has Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday off. As for winter break, not one of those school districts has more than 7 or 8 days off for Christmas and New Year's. So why do we need 5 days off for Thanksgiving when they all have 2? Why do we need 11 days off for Christmas when they all have 7 or 8? Cut the first 2 or 3 days from Thanksgiving break, the first 2 or 3 days from Christmas break, and that's 4 to 6 more days made up right there. The bottom line is August 10th is just too early to start school. August 17th seems much more reasonable, and it's doable. Please make it happen.
Jamie Schussler and Justin Katz. State your name, please.
Jamie Schussler. Thank you for letting me speak here today. After listening to parents and board members speak at the last meeting, I'm confused why we're here looking at the same proposed calendar. Parents gave suggestions and board members specifically asked the committee to think outside the box, give back the days of Thanksgiving, shorten the winter break, but nothing's been done. We are parents, PTA members, volunteers, taxpayers, fundraising chairs, and voters, and it feels like no one's listening to us. Starting school on August 10th is way too early. I heard board members and the calendar committee address that the children are our first priority, so why aren't they? I have already mentioned recess and physical education is so important to children's mental and physical health and social and emotional education. I'm not sure the last time any of you were in the classroom or had children of elementary school age, but as a former elementary school teacher and a mom of a 7 and 10-year-old, I know the demands on these kids are much greater than ever before, and they need a break and outdoor activity. It's too hot in August, and they can't get it. PE is taught in the classrooms during the first few weeks of school because it's too hot outside. You might as well just cancel physical education. By starting school earlier and earlier every year, they are spending more and more time indoors without a break. Our school is moving in the wrong direction. One less week of school during these high temperatures and ending school in June would make a huge difference, and it's not that complicated to figure out. So let's talk about solutions. I do not want anyone to have a pay gap, but as soon as that was brought up, this upcoming school year had not been approved. We could have started school this year 3 days later, therefore ending school the first couple of days in June and creating less of a gap for the following year. We are talking about a gap in pay for one pay period for 1 year only. The salary will be the exact same. The priority needs to be the children. Since school can't start before August 10th, in 2021, school will start on a Tuesday. In 2022, it'll start on a Wednesday. It seems really confusing and silly to start school each year on a different day of the week just so we can start as early as August 10th. 2020 is the time to fix the calendar and push the start of school back a week so that we are not having to come back and do this every year, because I assure you, we will. We will. Give back the days of Thanksgiving week. Give back a couple of days for winter break. It's too long anyways. In a 6-week period between Thanksgiving and winter break, the kids have off 3 weeks and 2 days of school. It's ridiculous and a huge burden on working parents. There will never be a 90-90 split, but let's have the days in school make sense. By giving these days back during Thanksgiving and winter break, high schoolers will still be able to take midterms before the semester ends in December. If you start school 4 weeks before Labor Day, whether there are reasons you like or not, you will have thousands of students missing the first week of school. Please, this is your chance to do something right for our children.
evening. My name is Justin Catson. I'm the president of the Palm Beach County Classroom Teachers Association. I take no pleasure in playing the foil. It's certainly not the best way I would like to spend my Wednesday night in the last week of summer. But I want to bring to the attention of the board and push back a little on some of the comments that were said, specifically that the committee ignored the discussion that took place at the prior meeting. I was here for that discussion. I remember what each of you said, and the conclusion from that discussion was that 7 board members drew 7 lines in the sand all around us and said, don't touch this, don't touch that, don't take away this, don't take away that. I don't know which of the paid holidays you could replace to incorporate Veterans Day, because state law restricts your ability to do that to 6 days. I was unaware of that until this development came about. But that is a decision above the pay grade, I think, of the committee, because if a decision is made to eliminate a Jewish holiday or Martin Luther King Day or Thanksgiving or Christmas, that is a burden that would fall, I think, on the elected officials. I don't think anyone wants to compromise those days. So sadly, one of many things Tallahassee has bestowed upon us that have restricted our ability to do what we would like as a local government is cap the number of paid holidays. To the start date itself, I understand, and again, I take no pleasure in opposing what is the opinion of a large number of people who have come here tonight. I sympathize with the concern, but I also know that my job as a teacher in the classroom, now as the leader of the Teachers Association, I believe your job as school board members is to place academics and instructions above all else in terms of setting the calendar. There are serious consequences that result from pushing the start date back on testing, and I know everyone wants to say, and I agree, that testing should not dictate how we conduct business around here, but I don't make the laws. Legislators in Tallahassee do, and they have set fixed guidelines and schedules for these tests. So pushing the start date back, adding days at the end of the year, all it does is take away instructional time prior to those tests, and the consequences of those tests for students, for teachers, for the school district are real. They can't be ignored because of how much they impact everybody. I just want to bring to your attention again that the committee did, in good faith, take all of your recommendations to heart. The problem was that they were conflicting recommendations, and we were not in a position to disregard 2 of your ideas or disregard 4 people's ideas. Everyone had a sacred cow in that conversation, and we were not in the position to choose which one of you to sacrifice on the calendar. So I ask you, 1, to make it a legislative priority for these 2 items, to tell Tallahassee not to tell us how to conduct our business and remove the cap on paid holidays. You have a union president telling you that we can't have another paid holiday. I might be the first person in the history of unions to say that, because it would be a paid day off for my teachers, as well as the rest of the school district. But the law is the law, and sadly, we're saddled by it in many cases. I would urge you to take the recommendation, not because you like it, but because, as was stated, it is the difficult decision to tell a bunch of honest, passionate people, I am sorry, but the conditions you're requesting are not as simple as you are stating. Thank you all very much for your time.
At this time, we have to move to non-agenda topic speakers because we're time certain at 7 o'clock.